chapter 12. We'll be reading verse 25. Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 25. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word makes him glad. What's anxiety? Being anxious about something. Part of that is having fear in our life. There's some things that we need to fear. There's some things that we need to fear in our life. We need to fear God. Not a fear of being scared to death, but the fear of standing before Him in judgment. You see, the fear needs to be shown here and not there. And the fear that we have here is about the judgment. Where am I going to go when I leave this world? Am I going to spend eternity in heaven? Or am I going to spend it in hell? Now look at fear. And we fear many things in our life. But those many things that we fear in our life, we need to be able to overcome. And one of those things that in our lives that we fear is sickness. Why do we fear sickness? Because we're afraid to die. Are we afraid to die today? In 2004, I sat across from my family doctor. My family doctor's always been an upfront guy. He tells it like it is. And he looked across the table at me and he said, "You have cancer." I had just had x-rays done of my lungs. And he said a spot showed up. He said, "I'm pretty sure it's cancer." I was taken back. I was taken back. But then I remembered, I said, "Doc," I said, "I had pneumonia when I was a senior in high school." I said, "I believe it's scar tissue from that." He said, "Well, we're going to do ultrasound or MRI, whatever they did." I think it was an MRI. He said, "That'll tell." I went and had the MRI, and sure enough, it was scar tissue from when I had pneumonia. It wasn't cancer. But for a moment, wow, what am I going to do? There is a sickness that people have called nesophobia. And that is the fear of sickness. It's IAD as an abbreviation for it. But in that fear is a persistent, irrational fear of illness involving an extreme preoccupation with having or developing a serious medical condition. Causes us to overreact and overanalyze a normal body sensation. The world has a cure for it. The world has a cure for everything, doesn't it? As long as you have enough money to pay for it. The cure that the world has for it is therapy. One of the therapies is a behavior modification therapy. And it also has antidepressants.
Pills.
You take antidepressants for it. But I believe that something else is an answer for it. And it don't cost us anything but ourselves. Because I believe it's up to God. How many times in our prayers have we prayed to God, if it be your will? Jesus prayed that night on the mountain. God, if this cup can pass from me, I pray that it does. But not my will, but thine be done. We know that God knows what's best.
Yes, sir.
And do we turn it over to Him?
Not easily.
W.T. Hamilton in the book, Why Has All This Happened to Us? Wrote in chapter 6, he said, I did not know where to put this chapter because when I started writing this book, it wasn't supposed to be there. He said, but I went to the doctor today, and the doctor told me that I had cancer, and that there is a good chance I wasn't going to live because of the type of cancer that it was. The doctor told him what they planned on doing and asked him if that was all right. He said that was fine. He went and got in his car and started driving home. He said, and all these thoughts were going through my mind. He said, when I got home, he said, my wife and I sat down and I told her what the doctor had said. He said, with tears in her eyes, she looked at me and she said, why you? You're a good man. You're a preacher. You help people all the time. Why you? And W.T. looked across the room at her. He said, I've been asking myself that question ever since the doctor told me. He said, and my first reaction was your reaction. Why me? He said, but then I thought about it. And he said, why me? Why me did God give me such a beautiful, wonderful wife to help me through this time, to help me through my life? Why me? What did I do to deserve it? He said, and then I thought, why did God, why me? Why did He give me such wonderful children that grew up without giving us troubles, that was obedient? Why me? Why me did God give such good children? Why me did God give me the wonderful life that I've had so far? He looked at his wife and he said, why not me? Why not me? But you see, whatever sickness comes our way, cancer or any other deadly disease, we ask ourselves, why me? But when we finish analyzing, we need to say, why not me? Why not me? kind of like many years ago, one of the hurricanes came through. I guess it was Hurricane Ike that we had stayed home for. And we were without electricity for quite a while. No, it may have been Rita, because Sheila had already started back to school when we got our electricity back.
3 weeks.
And she said, why don't we have it back yet? And I'd been thinking the same thing. It'd been 2 or 3 weeks since we had water at our house. And I'd come to the conclusion, somebody has to be the first.
Yep.
Somebody has to be the last.
Yep.
What makes me good enough to be the first,
Location.
or bad enough to be the last? Is however they work it. I don't deserve to have water before anyone else. We just have to be ready and happy with the circumstances that we have. For a few minutes this morning, as we look at this overcoming sickness, I want us to think about the trust that we have in God, the faith that we have in God. We think about COVID. How many people were scared during COVID? A lot of us were.
All of them.
I don't want to get it. It sounds horrible. I had an app that my friend Ernie from Waco sent me. And you could click on it, and it had the whole world on it, and it had all these numbers flashing. And they were keeping count of everybody who had died in every country and every state in America. And we saw these numbers rising, up and up and up and up and up, and wow, it's going to take all of us out. Well, we learned many years later that those were false numbers. That they were taking people who died of normal illnesses during that time, saying that they had COVID. So we look and we see how many people died of COVID, but did actually that many die of COVID? And the answer was no. A guy had a wreck on a motorcycle. I heard this from the EMS. He died. They swabbed his mouth when he got to the hospital. Yeah, he had COVID. That's another one.
We do a lot of that.
The misinformation that we received. In the book of Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 7, when we read in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 25, anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a glad word makes him glad.
Yep.
Anxiety or fear in our hearts bring us down,
Assumption.
but a good word lifts us up. And I believe these verses bring out a good word. Again, in Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 7, rejoice in the Lord always, and again, I say rejoice. Do not be anxious for anything,
No.
but by prayer and supplication, make your wishes known to God with thanksgiving. Make your requests known to God, and He will give you peace. You see, that's what we need in life, isn't it? Peace. I've known people who have fought and fought and fought and fought death. And others who said, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And the peace that those people die in that were ready to go, knowing that heaven awaits. Knowing that heaven awaits for us. How wonderful is that? I want to take a few minutes to look at not only these words, but some words from the Psalms that I believe will help us if we have a fear of sickness. Help you and help me in my life. When we think about Psalms, we think about many writers who had wrote. David wrote many of them. But in those writings, we saw people who were pleading with God for help. We read many times of David being okay with the struggles that he had that was going on in life. In these struggles, in these times of anxiety, where do we put our trust? In these times of anxiety, in the book of Psalms, chapter 145, verse 18, he talks about God hearing us. Have you ever prayed and God didn't answer your prayer right away?
Yeah.
Well, God, didn't you hear me? You know, God hears our prayers, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
God hears our prayers. In 1 John chapter 5, verses 14 and 15, God hears us and provides for us. It's just he may not provide in the way that we're wanting. We know that God knows what's best.
Oh, yeah.
And if we know he hears us in our prayers, that we pray to him, we need to be happy. Jesus, when he prayed upon the mount, if this cup can pass from me, let it pass. But not my will, but thine be done. He was at peace. We need to be at peace with God. But you know, we still can pray, can't we?
Oh, yeah.
The 18th chapter of Luke talks about the persistent widow. She continued to pray and to pray and to pray and to pray. And the scripture says God finally gave it to her. Persistence in our prayers. God may just say, not right now, but in my time. In my time, I know what's best. We prayed and we prayed and we prayed for Mike's dad. Mike would call me and say, Tony, it's going to be any day now. And months would go by. Years went by.
Amen.
And God finally answered our prayers the way we wanted. But God had reasons. And you know, there's some reasons I'm going to ask God about when I get to heaven. How about you?
Oh, yeah, I got a bunch.
I got a bunch of them. But we have to know that God hears us. In Hebrews chapter 4, verse 16, it tells us, with confidence,
Okay.
draw near to the throne of God. With confidence that God hears us. And he'll do what's best. In Psalms chapter 139, verses 1 and 2, sometimes we think that God's not with us.
No.
But not only does he hear us,
Oh.
but he's always with us, isn't
Oh.
he? Always with us.
Oh.
Hebrews chapter 13 and verse verse 8, God says, I will be with you.
I would never,
And I'll never leave you nor forsake you.
never.
God will always be there.
Thank God.
And we go back to Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 7. God will give us peace in whatever it is that's coming our way. God hears us. God is with us. In Psalms 37, verse 17, the arms of the wicked will be broken.
Okay.
The Lord upheld the righteous.
Oh,
God will deliver, won't he?
yes, he will.
God will deliver.
You know that.
There's a reason for everything. And we have to accept and trust God
His way.
in his delivering
His way.
what's best for us. I'm looking forward to seeing what's best for us through this retirement period. I don't know if I'll be retired the rest of my life or if I'll be retired for just a few months.
He will.
I may be so bored
Oh, yeah.
that I have to find something to do.
He gonna send you something.
I've talked to a lot of friends that I know that are like me, and they said, we just couldn't take it. We just couldn't take it.
He'll be busy.
And they went back to work. But I'm excited to slow down and to relax a little bit more.
You got about a month.
But I know that we're going to be taken care of, no matter what. God's always been there for us. You in your life, hasn't God always been there for you?
Oh, yeah.
You turn around and you think, why am I still here? I've gone through all of these problems. I've struggled all of these times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still here. Why?
He got something for you.
Because God's delivered us. He hasn't always given us
He's giving you a
everything that we wanted. But he has always given us everything that we needed.
Thank God.
How many meals have we missed in our lifetime?
Not many.
I miss more today, not because I miss them, it's just because I work so much. And a lot of times I work right through lunch. And I'll get home and Sheila will say, what'd you have for lunch? I say, nothing. She said, well, supper won't be ready for 2 hours, but I'll snack.
You get a break.
I haven't missed meals because I couldn't have one. I've missed meals because I've done other things. How many times have we really been hungry? I mean, really hungry,
Even when I work, I couldn't leave.
when we didn't have any food in the house.
A little bit.
There's been times that we've had very little food in the house.
Not enough.
And we're coming up on our 47th wedding anniversary next month. But we've never not had food in the house.
Thank you, God.
I did tell Sheila, right before we got married, I said, I don't care what you can cook. You can cook anything you want, but I do not want another chicken pot pie. Because that's all I ate that summer. You know, the banquet little chicken
Yeah.
pot pies, I'd eat 2 or 3 of them for each meal because they were only 25 cents each back at that time. And all I had to do was heat them up. You know, I didn't have a microwave, so it took a little bit longer in the oven.
Oven, yeah.
God always provides.
Yes, he does.
And God always delivers us. He always takes care of us. And knowing all of this, knowing that God hears us, knowing that God is with us, knowing that God will deliver us, what do we have to remember?
He delivered.
We have to remember never, ever give up. You know, sometimes people get sick and they say, this is all God's fault.
Oh, no, we can't do that.
It's all God's fault. God, why are you doing this to me? God didn't do it. God didn't do it. Sickness is part of life. Sickness is part of our living.
Wicked world.
These things happen. I believe there was a COVID virus.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe a lot of people died. I just don't believe as many people died as what they wanted us to believe. God put the world in motion just like the hurricanes. You know, a hurricane comes. Why did God send that hurricane? He didn't send it here.
Sure did.
God put everything in motion and it happens.
Screw stuff up.
I'm glad it don't happen real often. But it happens. Don't give up on God.
Don't give up on
It's
God.
not God that's brought it into us. In Mark chapter 4, verse 35, going through the end of the chapter, Jesus had finished preaching. And he got into a boat and he started to go across the lake. And a big storm came up. Y'all remember the story, don't you?
Yeah.
That boat was just a rocking.
Boy.
And it scared those that were on board, and they came down, they woke him up, and they said, "Carest thou not that we perish?" And Jesus looked at them and said, "Where is your faith?
He was asleep.
Or, O ye of little faith?" He questioned their faith,
Like that.
and he got up. He went to the bow, and he said, "Peace, be still." And immediately, not 10 minutes later, immediately the sea was stilled. There wasn't a ripple in the water one. Sometimes do we give up on God too soon?
Mm-hmm.
And why?
Wait.
Because of our faith. Because in our faith, if we have faith, we would know that he hears us. We would know that he's with us, and we know that he's going to deliver us. So why give up? In Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9, it says, "Don't grow weary in the work of the Lord." Sometimes we get weary, don't we? Sometimes we get tired. But don't ever give up on God. Don't turn away from him. Don't leave him. Finally, in Psalms chapter 46, verse 1, God is our refuge, a very present help in times of trouble. Let God wrap his loving arms around you. Let him take care of you. Our God, in whom we trust.
Yes, sir.
Our God, in whom we put our hands. In God. In God is our answer of overcoming sickness. When we get sick, and when we get sick with a disease that sometimes is death, We're either going to live or we're going to die. And what did Paul say about that?
Either here or there.
Again, he was talking to the church in Philippi. And he says, you know, I'm a winner either way. If I live, I'm going to keep preaching and teaching to you. If I die, I'm going to be able to one day go home and be with God. That's a winning too.
Win-win.
God told the thief on the cross, or Jesus told the thief on the cross next to him, today you will be with me in paradise. We have paradise to look forward to. A resting place before we reach our final destination. Some people think we go directly to heaven, some that we go to paradise. I believe we go to paradise. When Jesus comes, we're going to meet him in the sky. I think that's what the scripture teaches. Some people say, no, we go straight to heaven. That's what the preacher preaches. Well, I see an example of both of those in the Bible. But let me tell you how I settle that.
I'm going.
When I breathe my last breath, I can't change a thing. And so it don't matter if I go directly or if I wait till Jesus returns. But when I think about eternity, how much time am I thinking about? I don't care if it's 100,000 years from now, because eternity is going to be a whole lot longer than that. Eternity is going to be a sneeze, a fraction of a second compared to eternity. I want to spend eternity in heaven. I'll give you an example of somebody who did this. Lost a battle with cancer. But she never gave up. And that was Sheila's cousin, Belinda Curtis. Her daddy was a preacher, and her husband was a preacher. She was Sheila's roommate in college when we met. She called one day to tell Sheila that the doctors had found a tumor in her brain that was inoperable. And they were going to do some chemotherapy and radiation and all to try to shrink it, but it wasn't going to go away. It was going to bring death. And we went over and we visited with her. They lived over in the Austin area at the time. We drove over there and visited with her for a little while one Friday afternoon. As we sat there and talked, she talked about all the things that she was doing. She was teaching ladies' classes. She was holding Ladies' Day programs for people that asked her to come and to speak to them. And she was encouraging people to use her. She said, I know I don't have very long, but as long as I'm here, I need to be working for God. I need to be living for Him. She finally passed away. Did God forget her? No. She lived her life. She lived her life. And even in sickness, she lived her life for God. What a wonderful thought. What a wonderful thought. You know, today we have a lot of false teachers in the world. Today we have people who says, you get sick, come see me, I'll lay my hands on you. I've heard about a lot of these people that with the adrenaline and all going through their systems, they can get up for a short time and do what they want to do. But it don't last very long. They've proven some of these rallies. I saw one right across the street over here. Benny Hinn came. Yeah. And he put on shows after show after show, day after day after day for about a week. There's no telling how many millions and millions of dollars that he raised over there the week he was here. The people coming out saying, I'm healed, but you don't hear them talking a year later, or 5 years later, or 10 years later. It's been proven that a lot of them are just set up. That it is a show. Somebody really don't have what they say they have. It just makes it look like they were healed. But the Bible warns us about what? False teachers. And there's a lot of false teachers today bringing hope that they shouldn't. But today, for you and I, what must we remember? If sickness comes our way, to overcome the fear. To know that God hears us. To know that God is with us. To know that God's going to deliver us. Not to give up. To stay strong. And allow God to be our refuge. To wrap his loving arms around us. Us knowing that he's going to do what's best for us. One day we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Today, many people are going to die. Today, one or two or more of us may die.
More hope.
Or Christ
Okay.
may come back. We don't know.
It'd be a good day.
But what do we need? We need to be ready.
Hey,
We need to be ready when Christ comes back. Striving to do his will each and every day in our life. And not being afraid,
I'll be
but turning to God when things happen to us. Overcoming fear. We can do it in those 5 ways. We always want to offer an invitation when we come together. We're going to do so at this time. If anyone needs to respond, do so as we stand, as we sing the song Select.